Exploring the concept of God is a profound and complex journey that spans across diverse cultures, religions, and philosophical perspectives. The notion of God has been a fundamental aspect of human existence, shaping beliefs, values, and the understanding of existence itself. Life of Pi, however, does a very good job in helping exploring faith and the importance of this in our lives. In the film Life of Pi, the main character, Pi Patel's family, own a zoo in India. India is a country with immense spiritual and religious focus woven into its diverse and expansive culture. Pi comes across several religions and is enamored by the beauty and mystery these religions hold. Pi's father, however, decides that Canada would be a better location for the zoo due to internal issues happening in India at that time that were impacting upon the Patel family's business and way of life. The family decides on Canada as being the destination to travel to, and they manage to sort out a ship called the Tsimshian to carry their cargo and zoo animals on their journey for a new life. This sadly, however, does not end up being the case. The Tsimshian encounters a devastating storm and submerges. In this horrible catastrophe, Pi loses his mother, he loses his father, and he also loses his brother on the voyage when the boat sinks. Pi is the sole survivor of the shipwreck, aboard a lifeboat separated from the warmth and security of his family. The emotional weight of the loss is palpable as Pi grapples with the sudden void left by his loved ones. This is where Pi's faith is put to the test. It's a tale older than time that when we are on our knees and at the mercy of such extreme hardships, with a lack of belief in ourselves to survive this ordeal, we turn to God for his help and mercy. This is seen time and time again. It's a narrative discussed in Louis Zamperini's story in Unbroken, where he is lost at sea for 47 days. He begs for God for help.
If you get me through this, if you answer my prayers, I swear I'll dedicate my whole life to you. I'll do whatever you want.
Viktor Frankl in the concentration camps is another example of this, as is Desmond Doss in Hacksaw Ridge. It is a striking event that happens in people's lives. When there is no one else to turn to, the only place to look, in essence, is God. Life of Pi does an amazing job in capturing this. The lifeboat that Pi finds himself on becomes an occupancy for the symbol of divine providence and protection. In the midst of the vast and tumultuous ocean, the lifeboat serves as a sanctuary where Pi's faith is not only practiced, but also tested and reaffirmed again and again. A central theme to the story is animal nature. Some of the zoo animals make it onto the lifeboat from the shipwreckage, including a zebra that has broken its leg, an orangutan, a hyena, and Richard Parker, a Bengali tiger. As the story unfolds, we see the zebra being eaten by the hyena. In this attack, the orangutan freaks out and attacks the hyena, stopping his heinous actions. After a smile to Pi, however, the orangutan is then mauled and finally killed by the hyena. Struggling with this and angered by the hyena's actions, Pi confronts the hyena and enters an altercation. This is abruptly ended by Richard Parker, pouncing on the hyena and taking his life. At the end of Life of Pi, after surviving the seas on the lifeboat and finding land, Pi has to recount the events that took place for the record of an insurance company. As you can imagine, the story seems a tall tale. How can the insurance company workers, with their straightforward, logical and rational thinking, believe such a fantastical story? Pi finally submits to the view of the insurance workers and provides them a story that would fit their worldview and narrative. He provides a story where the zebra on the life raft was the sailor and he had broken his leg jumping off the raft. The hyena was the ship's chef, the murderer of the sailor, and the murderer of the orangutan being Pi's mother. This leaves Pi as being the Bengali tiger, Richard Parker, the murderer of the chef. The insurance company, shocked at the morbid and heartbreaking story, feel more secure in the realism it holds. Pi, however, does not waver on his belief of the first story. Pi proceeds to ask a very peculiar and apparently irrelevant question. Which story is better? You might think, does it matter? Does the attractiveness of one story make any difference? But Pi insists.
So which story do you prefer?
The one with the tiger.
But what does this mean? By asking the officials and the writer which story they prefer, Pi challenges them, and by extension the reader, to consider the role of faith, belief, and storytelling in making sense of the world. In the story, Pi offers us two different paths in life, two different roads to follow to make sense of our lives and the world we live in. Down one is faith and belief, and the other path is the realm of atheism and logic. If I cannot measure it, if I cannot conduct experimentation to provide validity, then it is not believed and ignored. This is a logical approach to life, but Pi poses that it misses out the magic of our lives, that not everything can be measured or even perceived for that matter. The story with the tiger is a better story, the same way the story of your loved one passing away and entering into heaven is better than the belief that they have become fertilizer returning to the earth. The belief that you have innate value, that you truly mean something, that you are loved and came into this world with a purpose provided by your creator, is better than the notion that life in essence has no meaning, that it is just relative, and we prescribe our own meaning to our existence and pursuits. The terrorists that blew up the World Trade Center believed in their hearts that doing what they did was the right and moral thing. So, because they believed this, does it make it so? Pi was immersed in religion in his upbringing and understands the value of religion as a moral compass that guides a meaningful and purposeful life. On the lifeboat, he does however come across struggles such as going against his Hinduism belief and teachings of animal life as being sacred. To survive his stay on the lifeboat, Pi is required to eat fish to survive, which goes against his faith. Pi learns that spirituality and connection with the divine can be found in the struggle for survival, in the appreciation of life's diversity, and in the acceptance of the imperfections inherent in the human condition. This can also be exemplified in the death of the cook. After the murder of Pi's mother, Pi loses control and ends up killing the cook due to the danger he poses. Murder in a religious context is a heinous act. It is listed in the Ten Commandments, laws provided directly from God himself, as being a gravely sin. This carries into the monotheistic religions such as Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. It also goes against Hinduism's ethical principles such as the concept of ahimsa, non-violence, advocating avoiding harm to others. After the death of the cook, Pi finds himself trying to tame the Bengali tiger, which according to the second story is himself. The Bengali tiger in the story may act as Pi attempting to tame his shadow self. The shadow self is from Jungian psychology and developed by Swiss psychiatrist Carl Gustav Jung. The shadow represents the unconscious and repressed aspects of an individual's personality. It encompasses traits, desires, and emotions that are contrary to the conscious self-image and societal norms. The shadow is often composed of qualities deemed undesirable, socially unacceptable, or in conflict with one's conscious identity. Pi does not kill the cook in the first story. The tiger does. This indicates the animalistic nature within Pi and the separation of it from his personal view of himself. The shadow self is a force that in time of hardships and struggle is sometimes required to be let out of its cage. Richard Parker, Pi's shadow self, saved his life by killing the cook and taught him to eat fish to survive, which Pi struggled with heavily, especially with the Hinduism doctrine. Pi's life had never succumbed to struggles such as he finds himself in on the lifeboat, and only on the lifeboat does he understand the tests and trials of faith and the importance of the shadow self. Pi cannot survive without Richard Parker. He cannot cast him away. He needs him. He needs his shadow self, and throughout the film, Pi learns to tame the shadow and to live side by side in harmony with it. Pi's journey with Richard Parker underscores the idea that acknowledging and integrating the shadow self is essential for achieving a balanced and authentic sense of self. The entirety of the story, where Pi shares the raft with Richard Parker, is a cosmic dance between chaos and order. Pi is human, and by nature he is therefore born with chaos, but his religion and faith act as an ordering of this chaos imposed onto us. In Life of Pi, if we interpret the tiger, Richard Parker, as Pi's shadow self, the tiger's departure without looking back at Pi at the end of the story symbolizes the resolution and integration of Pi's unconscious elements. It signifies a completion of Pi's inner journey, a transformation, and the attainment of psychological wholeness. The tiger's independent departure represents Pi's readiness to move forward with a more balanced and conscious sense of self, closing a significant chapter in his life. The integration of his shadow self becomes a profound metaphor for the complexities of faith, highlighting how acknowledging and embracing one's inner struggles can lead to a deeper connection with religious beliefs. The journey of reconciling with the shadow parallels the process of confronting doubts, fears, and uncertainties within the realm of faith, ultimately strengthening Pi's spiritual foundation. So, which one was the better story?